Conclave, where the managing editor of ET Now Swadesh, Nikunj Dalmia, is in conversation with Nikesh Arora of Palo Alto Networks.
What time we had in mind, but again, thank you for having me. I'm not quite sure Get Rich Startup is quite the title that we're talking about. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to actually build something from scratch and make it realize its value. So I think it's long years and long days and long nights of hard work required to get there.
Of course, that was just really on the lighter note. But to understand the big picture of what is happening in the startup ecosystem, India has seen a boom. There are challenges in China, and some would argue, given what is happening to the interest rate and the way how the US markets are moving, there is a bit of a readjustment. It's not a shakeout, it is not a meltdown, but it is a readjustment which is happening in the startup world. Your thoughts on that?
Look, I think first of all, we all have to rejoice in the fact that I've been watching this and investing in the Indian startup ecosystem for almost 2 decades now. And what's phenomenal to watch is the fundamental shift in the appetite for risk. And appetite for risk across the spectrum, whether it's investors putting money into young entrepreneurs in the country, whether it's people coming out of college and university and saying, I want to build the next unicorn, or I want to be part of the next unicorn. If you look at the young people coming out of school across the country, there is a huge amount of attraction to go work for something that's fast-paced, disruptive, wants to go out and recreate the world. I think that's phenomenal. Listening to the people who introduced us, the fact that India now can boast unicorns in aggregate closing in on 100, and I think about 15,000 startups having been recognized last year, which is way more than 5 or 6 years ago. We're talking in less than 1,000 startups, and we're still, people come out of school and their parents want them to go work for an established organization, not to go to some small startup with 4 guys in the garage or 2 guys in the garage. So that's phenomenal to watch, that we are building the culture where the young people in the country want to go be part of something exciting and something new. Now, in that phenomena, as we've seen around the world, it's not just a India-specific phenomena. It's been going on in both the US and China as well. And we're slowly, as beginning to mature, get out of our adolescent phase, which is, again, amazing to watch. The current scenario around the world, the economic scenario, the fact that money supply has been suddenly begun to shrink because of pandemics and wars, is causing a little bit of a, I think, revaluation of startups. But this is all in the life cycle of what a startup will go through. So I'm not particularly worried about where we are in terms of startup valuations. That's not going to impact the long-term trajectory of what we're witnessing in India as well as globally.
How would you rate Indian startups, and how are they different from global startups?
Well, I think we've been through the phase, the journey. Remember, startups have been a phenomenon around the world, have been a phenomenon in India as well. And Indian startups are in a phase where they started off wanting to address the local market. Every piece of innovation we saw around the world has not only been replicated, new ideas have come through in India. I think India is one of the most innovative payment ecosystems in the world, for example. So there are people who have adapted ideas from around the world and built them from scratch in India. I think what's fascinating to watch is I'm beginning to see a class of startups who have global ambitions coming out of India, which to me is most heartwarming. Watching companies which are started in India were saying, why can't I solve this problem globally? Why am I restricting my thinking or my abilities to the fact that I'm going to, serve the Indian market of north of 1 billion people? I actually would like to serve the global market. Watching those startups emerge, watching those startups sort of get on the global stage. We saw our first, India-started company go public on the NASDAQ. These are all amazing things to watch. And I think the time has come where startups out of India are going to start seeing success, not just in India, but also outside of India.
All right, and that was a conversation that Nikunj Dalmia is having with Nikesh Arora of